Awesome. So today, we're gonna talk about, oh wait, now it's a little,
Aries insanity. I mean, we're getting through it, but yeah,
yeah. Well, and I also realized today is the Uranus-Venus conjunction, and
true.
Uranus moves into Gemini on what is today, Thursday? No. Yeah. It,
yeah, I think so.
I actually have no idea what day of the week it is ever. Um,
Yeah, it's the 23rd today. Yeah, that's Thursday.
so it moves on the 25th, which is Saturday?
Saturday.
Okay. Yeah. I
Yeah.
I was just like, oh my God, I have no idea what day of the week it is.
No, same. Yeah. Are you excited for Uranus and Gemini?
Honestly, I don't have any mutable placements. So, I mean,
Okay.
besides my Pisces Venus, which is like at 24 degrees, and they're my cadent houses, and like honestly, fine. Like
What's a cadent house?
a cadent house are the houses that are falling away from the angles. So they're not important, they're not angular, they're not
Mm.
like super loud by any
Hmm.
means.
Interesting. Okay.
And so, yeah, I'm being so hit by all of the other transits. Like, I know I've been talking a lot about how Saturn and Neptune were on my moon, which is my chart ruler, and I'm in an Aries perfection year. So, like, all of that Aries stuff has been so activated, and my chart ruler, my moon is at 3 Aries, so that's being hit so hard. Neptune is like almost exactly at 3 right now. And then Jupiter's been on my ascendant, but I also just realized yesterday Pluto is almost at 6 degrees Aquarius, and my sun is
Hmm.
at 7. And I was like,
Hmm.
wait a minute. Pluto is just as much on my sun as all of these other things
Yeah.
on my moon and ascendant. And I've not even thought about that once because I've just been so focused on these other things. And I like
Well, and you tend not to like you're in your practice, right? You tend not to look at those outer planets as much. That's just not part of your like.
definitely not as much, but I've been thinking about Neptune being on my moon a
Mm,
lot. So
mm.
I mean, mostly Saturn. Like Saturn hitting my moon was definitely a huge thing for me, but I don't know, it just kind of hit me and I had like a funny moment of like, oh shit.
Yeah, I mean, I would think that's really big. I guess I've always kind
Yeah.
of identified, or not ident, but I've always been like very interested in like Pluto specifically,
Yeah.
like Neptune, Uranus, to a certain extent, but like Plutonian energy for me has always been very, very interesting. And one of
Yeah.
the rabbit holes I went down recently with like the whole Lilith thing, I realized like one, I can't remember if it's the asteroid, or the
Black.
other, what is it, dark moon, because my
Yeah.
black moon Lilith is in Libra in the third, but then there's the asteroid and the dark moon, right? So one of them, I can never remember which, is on my Pluto. Like it's
Yeah.
literally to the degree it's on my Pluto. So I feel like I've always been, more interested in Pluto stuff. But yeah, I mean that does sound like a lot. But we were talking about how it seems like you are doing better, or you have been doing better than a lot of other people I know, including myself in this yeah,
Yeah.
Aries, I don't know what you want to call it, but funhouse situation.
Yeah.
But I
Disaster.
don't know if that's maybe just because like I think the number one thing that everyone I've been talking to other than you keeps complaining about is just kind of like this frustration, burnout kind of situation.
Yes.
Like, yeah, I mean, literally too much fire, right? But maybe because of your baseline chart, right, your natal chart, maybe you're a little more accustomed to, like, maybe that's how you run more normally. Do you think
Right.
that's why maybe like you've been
Yeah,
doing
I mean,
better?
I've definitely felt restless and I've been frustrated that things aren't happening at the speed that I've wanted them to.
Yeah.
And I've had a lot of things like been canceling or rescheduling because like everyone else I know has been going
Yeah.
through it. And
Right.
so I think like one of the biggest pieces of dealing with that for me has been like I've just been like I have too much energy in my body right now and I've felt like I just need to take walks. And so
Mm.
all I've been doing is walking. Like I don't think I've gotten less than 15 steps a day in week, literally walking around my apartment complex in circles. But like I want to be close enough to home that I can go home and do something if I like feel inspired
Yeah.
to. So I'm not going anywhere, but then I'm not actually doing anything. And it's been this like honestly frustration because
Hmm.
I'm like, I don't want to just keep walking in circles, but that's the only thing that feels good on my body. And
Hmm.
I'm back
Yeah.
to like not wanting to eat, which is interesting. So
Mm.
like yesterday I like walked down to Penn Station and made myself buy a sandwich because I was like, I need to eat something and I have no food in my house because I've been refusing to go to the grocery store. And it's just
Right.
this like, but I haven't wanted to eat or do anything. So
Mm.
like
Yeah.
all I want to do is walk or acro or play outside or be really active. And when I stop moving, I get frustrated that like I'm not getting responses quickly or that people are bailing on me or like even when I'm seeing friends, all I want to do is walk. Like it's been really weird.
Well, it makes me think of, I mean, we've talked about that before, though, that like walking specifically, right, as opposed to, for example, running or like bicycling or any other like activity, right? Like walking as a movement pattern, as an activity is really healthy for us. It's like hardwired in our nervous systems to like mentally do well, right, when we're walking. Like, wasn't there some article? I mean, this was a while ago, but I think you
Yeah.
pulled it up about like thought processes during walking specifically, or like how good it was for, I don't remember
Yeah.
the specifics anymore, but
This the study was that walking and talking at the same time is
maybe it was
actually
that. Yeah.
the best things you can do for your brain because it
Yeah.
lights up every piece of your brain and it's the
Simultaneously.
yeah, it's like the only activity that lights up literally every piece of your brain at the same time.
Hmm.
So therefore, like it's really good for like multitasking and it's like it's good for your lungs because your lungs have to multitask and it's like it's just really good for you in so many different ways. And I think that felt like there's an importance around that basically.
Yeah,
Um,
no, that makes good sense. Yeah, and it's like
yeah,
walking is a really good sustainable level of activity. I think in our culture sometimes we tend to hyperfixate, and I know I do this as well, like on this idea of exercise and movement having to be really intensive, really strenuous,
yeah,
and like, oh, if I didn't like sweat or whatever, it wasn't a workout. But and not to say that there's anything against that kind of workout. I love like a good intense movement session as well. But
right.
the truth is, like on a daily basis, biologically, we were made to be just moving more, like way more than the average person does, right? Biologically, probably humans are made to move more like you do in terms of how much you walk every day, right? But it's not like humans were necessarily, running triple marathons. They were just like moving around doing things, everyday things, right? I mean, yes, some humans were also running marathons literally to catch prey. But short of that, right? I think everyone in every culture, whether or not you were chasing down antelope for hours, people were just moving gently but constantly.
Yeah, right, exactly. Like there is an importance to learning how to move your body in that particular way. Or just like getting a lot of movement, especially with this like Aries activation stuff. Like it's been
Yeah.
there's
Wait, this makes me think, I have a question for you. So you recently started doing, I think you started releasing them, right? A series on, it's kind of like an offshoot of your medical astrology stuff where you're looking at like the body parts and the muscles and things that are associated with each sign, right? And you're talking about like what
oh
exercises you could practically do in order to strengthen, like if you have a deficit or if you have a weakness, right, in like this area, then what's an exercise you could do?
yeah.
Medically astrology speaking. So I wonder, do you think there's like what is Aries rule? Do you think there's any like connection to, I mean, obviously it's fire, it's movement in general, but just on like a medical astro level, what do you think could
Yeah.
be a self-care practice or a movement practice for people in general?
Yeah, so I did make that series. It didn't do nearly as well as any of my other like medical astrology series. And the ironic thing is the video that got the least amount of views was the Aries video. So
Hmm,
that's funny.
interesting.
And by
Is
a
that
lot, like by a lot.
is that typical? Do you often find that like Aries gets less attention or?
I do find that a lot, actually.
Huh.
And I think it's mostly because I've been mostly designing a lot of these medical astrology videos for the rising signs. And
Okay.
Aries is actually the rarest rising sign to possibly have.
Huh. Why is that?
Because of the ecliptic, because of where we are specifically.
Hmm.
Um, so the ascensional time of certain um signs basically like it spends shorter time in Aries and then Pisces and then it's
Hmm.
longer time in Libra and then Virgo. So you're way
Hmm.
more likely to have a Libra or Virgo rising or something on that area of the chart. So like
Hmm.
Leo, it spends more
Yeah,
time
yeah.
all of those
Interesting.
signs.
Wait,
Um,
so I'm not special? What?
I know.
That's
Um,
interesting.
Yeah, so it's like actually very, very rare and uncommon to have an Aries rising specifically, but also Pisces and also Aquarius and Taurus a little bit too. But it
Hmm.
does start
Well,
to
it's like
pick
a spectrum, right? It's not like blacks and whites. It like
right.
fades out. Yeah, but
Right.
Aries is like the
But
most
especially
strict.
on in North America, like it's pretty rare to
Hmm.
be a Pisces or Aries rising. So I have always noticed that like the Libra and um Virgo videos always do the best. Actually, the Scorpio
Hmm.
videos always do the best. Weird.
Hmm.
Like Scorpio is always like the highest viewed. And then I notice Cancer gets viewed a lot. I think there's a lot of astrologers who are Cancer risings. So I think
Yeah.
it's just like maybe coincidence, but I have noticed like a weird influx of Cancer rising astrologers recently. So my Cancer rising videos have been doing really well. And then Libra and Virgo are always like up there too. The Aries videos I make almost never get that many views. And I think it's really just because
Huh.
Aries is such a rare rising sign to have. And I do
Huh.
specifically say watch
Strange.
for your rising sign, but I resonate with the Aries stuff the most because it's my chart ruler.
Right, right. And that's where, I mean, obviously it's hard in like a short video or a short written thing to like explain all the nuances of charts. But yeah,
Exactly.
it's like and like, look for your rising sign is a great place to start, I think, but also
Correct.
like, yeah, that's why it
Yeah,
helps to know
right.
rulership and such things too. Yeah, because I think sometimes even instinctively without knowing why, we like resonate with a sign and we're like, oh, I love this. I always look it up, even though it's not
Right.
my, big three or whatever necessarily, or it's not so prominent. Um,
Right. Yeah.
but there's always a reason for it. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think there's always a reason. And like, yeah, when I made that series, I did just kind of say like, watch this for your rising sign, but then I did end up making a video that was like, hey, you can also watch it for like if you have a stellium, like I resonate with the Aquarius
Right.
one because I have a stellium there. I also resonate with the Aries one because I have my chart ruler, my moon there. And you might resonate with anything you have a planet in. Like
Hmm.
especially if you're not really like working with that planet much, like I could resonate with the Pisces stuff or like there's just like so much nuance. You might also resonate with your whatever rules your sixth house because it's your health and your body and your vitality.
Yeah.
So like watching it for that could be good or whatever perfection year you're in. So like I'm in an Aries perfection year, so Aries is going to be doubly important for me, but like next year I move into a Taurus perfection year, I might have issues with my throat or like I could get colds or like there could
Yeah. I
be
think it
issues
could
with that
be.
body part.
Yeah, it could be interesting to do it backwards too, because right, you can look at your chart and go, what signs should I look up in order to get more information about my health situation and advice? But you could also go, what am I experiencing in my body, right? And then sort of reverse engineer it and go, what's going on in my chart? Because that can be interesting too. I think that's been really helpful for me, where it's like, okay, I have this mysterious thing going on, but then like when you actually break it down, like sometimes I come to you and I'm like, what rules, whatever, because something's going on, right? And it's just kind of like
Yeah,
sometimes it does help to get that extra background of like, why could this thing be flaring up? Yeah, what
right.
about yeah, with Aries, what does that rule? What would that have been for everyone in this like Aries season collectively on
Yeah,
a
so
physical
Aries
level?
rules the head. And so in the yoga or exercise videos that I made for each of the rising signs, getting your head below your hips or like getting
Hmm.
your head upside down is actually like the best you can do for this Aries energy because it takes the pressure out of your head, like feeling in alignment. And so I gave like a bunch
Hmm.
of different like inversion options from like anything easy to just like a forward fold or like a wide-legged forward fold. But I also showed a headstand because that's
Hmm.
like definitely very Aries. And I used my inversion table situation
Hmm.
thing. I don't
That's
know what
nice.
it's
Yeah.
called. Yeah, I used that to show one too. And I was just like, hey, if you have two things you can push together, or if you have one of these, even just like hanging out upside down for a minute could be really beneficial. Um, and so, yeah, just like getting your head below your hips and having like some sort of inversion is really helpful. But I also like because I do palm readings too. When I worked Victory of Light 2 weeks, yeah, 2 weekends ago, every single person, like I do a lot of palm readings at that event because there's not very many palm readers. And so I've noticed that like people seek that out because there's not much of it. But I do palm reading as traditional Chinese medicine and relate it back to the
Hmm.
medical astrology. And every single person had their headache line lit up.
Hmm.
And I ended up asking every single one of them if they were dehydrated and if they had a headache. And they were like, I have been having headaches lately. And I was,
Yeah.
yeah, that's because there's 6 or 7 planets in Aries.
Yeah. That
Yeah,
makes sense.
a headache.
Yeah, it makes me think too, like there's like a qigong exercise for like releasing anger and like frustration and kind of like, yeah, this pent up like fiery energy. And it's like you
Yeah.
stand and you hold your arms up and then you kind of like swing forward, basically into
Yeah.
like a forward fold, but like kind of not violently, but like with momentum, and you
Yeah.
kind of repeat that movement. So that's interesting because that's literally like, yeah, bringing the head below the hips in that sense, but with like a little added momentum.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, interesting. So what about as we transition into Taurus season, what's medically, what would we be looking out for there?
Yeah, well, there's not much going on in Taurus. Venus leaves today or tomorrow, and obviously we're going to talk about the Uranus-Venus conjunction here in a minute.
Yeah,
Loop back to that, but yeah, that's been definitely a really big deal. And Uranus leaves on Saturday, and so like
yeah.
even though yes, the sun is in Taurus,
It's not
there
really, yeah.
yeah, it's like not much is going on in Taurus. Like Mercury's
Well, I was
gonna
gonna say
join.
I'm not really feeling, yeah, I'm not really feeling like a huge shift. It still
No,
feels, yeah, very
it
Aries
still
to
feels
me. Yeah,
very Aries. Yeah, even like, yeah, the day the sun moved, I was like, yep, still Aries. Like, and usually,
yeah.
like, I actually get sick every single year in April, or like get a little cold, or like
Hmm.
I have a major like emotional crash or something that happens every single year when the sun moves into Taurus because I
Hmm.
love Aries season. Like
Right,
my
right,
chart ruler, it's my 10th house. Like I thrive during Aries season every year. Like it's always
right.
the month, or yeah, it's always the month that I make the most money and like do the best and feel like alive again. And like I just also like don't like winter, so it's like the weather is my favorite. Like I
Right.
do so well in Aries season, and every year when we shift into Taurus, I feel like I just ran into a brick wall and
Hmm.
just done. Like I have like really, really, really struggled with that like shift in past years or just like always. But this year I didn't feel it at all. Like this year
Hmm.
it didn't like I I've felt like time is moving so fast right now, and I
Yeah.
keep forgetting like what day of the week it is or like where I am anyway. But I was like just thinking about how I'm about to shift into my first house perfection month and leaving my 12th house perfection month. And I was like, this has not felt like a 12th house month at all. And I was like, well, my
Hmm.
10th is being so activated. So it's probably just that. But then I really started to like sit in that energy and I was like, yeah, this doesn't feel like Taurus energy at all. Like this is
Yeah.
like I do
Okay,
not like brick wall.
I'm glad I'm not the only one because I was kind of feeling that. And then I was like, well, maybe it's just me, or, but like, yeah, I mean,
Uh,
it's a good reminder that, yeah, just because the season changes, depending on what else is going on, we may not necessarily feel that like right away or, yeah, very strongly at all, I guess.
yeah.
So is there, what do you is it just the contrast from moving to Aries to Taurus that gets you, or do you have like placements in a Taurian sphere that are difficult? What do you think
Well,
is behind that?
did get a comment real quick. She
Hmm.
said, I noticed the shift of the sun into Taurus. My mom is a Taurus and really stepped up her game. Yeah, that's interesting that you felt it. I felt like I didn't really. But no, I don't have any placements in Taurus. I don't really have Taurus energy. My lot of spirit and arrows are in Taurus. Um, but those are like
Interesting.
their degrees, and sometimes I feel like with lots, like it can be harder to see how those play out. Some people, some Hellenistic astrologers, especially like the ancients, used to really put a lot of energy into lots, especially during transits to them, but I haven't paid as much attention to them as I do with other things or like with the personal planets. But what I will say is like it does feel like things have been slowing down a bit, but it's almost like we needed it to. Like there's
Oh
just
my
been
God, yes.
so
I
yeah,
will take I will take any amount of of
yeah,
slowing at this point.
yeah,
Because it's like the weather's getting hotter too, so it's like the world is waking up.
yeah.
And like out here with the garden and stuff, I'm just like watching everything and it's cool, but I'm also just like, oh my God, like it's about to get really busy in the garden. So
Yeah,
there's
things
anticipation, but also like, oh, I need like a second to decompress before that happens.
I
Yeah.
know it does feel that way. Like it feels like everything is happening so quickly and just like chaotically, and there's been a lot of like really big shifts and it feels good. Like it feels like we need these shifts, but it also like, there's a speed frustration and like I like the speed. Like being ruled by Aries and having Mars on my ascendant, like I'm very like, yes, bring it fast. Like let's just go. Let's just do it. We'll figure it out when we get there. Um, but when things start to slow down, I've always had a harder time with that. And so like I've been trying to learn how to just indulge and enjoy and rest and like just hang out with
Yeah.
friends and like not get all worked up if things get canceled or rescheduled or whatever. Like that's been like what this energy has felt like.
Yeah, well, and I think I've been trying to as a personal practice, and we talked a little bit about this in another moon meetup, I think, about Saturn and trying to look beyond just like the frustration of the delay or the cancellation, right? Like the thing being taken away from you or not going the way that you thought it was going to go, and trying to focus on the next level, which is what needed to happen that wasn't going to happen if it was going to go, quote, the way that I expected, right? Or the way that I wanted. Like what was not sustainable or what was not ready, or what needed to be added, what needed to be incorporated, right? And like usually you can see something or you can find something even pretty quickly and be like, okay, if that delay hadn't happened, then actually, I might be worse off, right? Sometimes there's situations where like it does take a bit more thinking, a bit more soul searching to go, what was the point of that? But I feel like, a lot of times if you set your ego aside, you can go, okay, this was not random, right? Like,
For sure. Yeah. Well, and I think like I've been trying to like meditate a lot more or like I've been like we were just talking about like I've felt this constant need to just be walking or like moving. I can't sit still. And so I've been trying to take walks where I fully put my phone away and
hmm,
disconnect.
that's
And
cool.
or I just like I'll send you those long voice messages where I'm just talking because I'm like processing
It's like
thoughts
that's more
out
like
loud. Yeah, like which feels meditative. So either way, like those feel the same. But I've been noticing that like every time I meditate, the message that I keep getting is just like just enjoy. Like just slow
hmm,
down. Like appreciate the beauty. Like go make a
right.
nice dinner. Like go enjoy
Right.
something. And I'm like that's just not the message I want right now. Like, I don't know why. I can't.
Yeah, I mean, I struggle with that one too. I think sometimes for those of us who are very like ambitious and, big picture oriented and like purpose driven, like it can be frustrating to be told, don't worry about it, just relax, just enjoy yourself because you're like, but oh my God, there's so many things I want to accomplish, right? Or like there's so much that needs to get done.
Right,
Um, and obviously it's a balance. We don't want to just be like, oh, someone else will take care of it every single time, but
right.
to a certain extent, yeah, like we're not really in control of individually, right? Anything except for just our own little bubble. And sometimes if you go, okay, what if I didn't do this? Maybe it would take care of itself, or maybe someone else would jump in, or, like
Yeah,
I think we do tend to get into this like hyper individualistic mindset we've been trained to, right, by our culture, that wants us to think if we, especially as women, right, if we don't take care of this, it's not going to get taken care of. And that's where like this micromanaging, anxiety, frustration, bitchiness, even, right, like that kind of cycle, negative mental, emotional, psychological cycle starts to occur. I mean, that's something I've battled with a lot too. So I think if you, yeah, when we find ourselves kind of micromanaging our own time like that and being like, well, but we've got 5 minutes. Why don't we do something productive with it?
right.
Yeah, you got to
Yeah,
be more like the kitty cats. Just just me
yeah,
on them.
right. Um, yeah, with Saturn and Aries in the sign of your Mars and Saturn, I totally understand there's pressure on yourself. Sign of your Mars and Ace. Yeah. Um, my Mars and Ascendant are in Cancer, but my moon is in Aries in that mutual reception. But yes, like having Saturn and Mars together, especially in Aries, where both of them like have some sort of like dignity, like Mars is
Hmm.
dignified in Aries and Saturn is very undignified in Aries.
Right.
I also like I've been thinking about this a lot because it's kind of funny, but Mars is my Time Lord this year. And yeah, pressure on feelings for sure, because it's all squaring. Um,
Yeah.
but like, yeah, with Mars being my Time Lord this year, like it feels so good to have Mars in domicile. Like having a strong, powerful Mars.
Like a comfortable, at least,
Yeah,
yeah,
like it's
empowered.
really activating and like, but it's also, yeah, it's making me very unable to just like rest or chill. Um, Whereas I'm kind of worried for it to move into Taurus. Like I'm
Yeah,
a little bit worried that that's gonna feel really frustrating. And I'm
yeah.
honestly kind of just trying not to think about it because
It's an
I'm like,
interesting combination. Yeah,
really
like,
annoying.
yeah. When does that happen?
Oh man. Um, Soon. I could probably, yeah, I'll go pull my book.
Yeah, because Mars is a pretty fast mover, right?
Yeah, Mars spends about two-ish months in a sign, depending. Mars is gonna have a pretty crazy retrograde by the end of the year, which I'm like also not super excited about. That's gonna be an interesting one.
What's different about this retrograde to others? What makes you say it's extra crazy?
Oh, it's not gonna be extra crazy. It's just Mars retrogrades.
Okay, just by default, a Mars retrograde is not a fun time. Okay, that's fair. Yeah. How often do they occur?
Every other year-ish. Every like year.
Okay. Okay. So it would have been, so if it's going to be the end of 2026, it would have been like the end of 2024 was the last time ish,
Yeah,
sometime in
it was
2020.
it was like January of it happened in December and then it went through February
Okay.
um of 23 and then or 24 into 25. It was awful.
That was when my divorce basically initiated, so that kind of makes sense. Yeah,
A
it's
lot
fair.
of Yeah, that's when I got that staph infection and thought I was dying and it got misdiagnosed.
Oh, yeah.
But it was right on my ascendant and I already have a retrograde Cancer Mars. That was a particularly
Oh,
bad one.
well, but in general, don't they say that if you have a natal planet in retrograde, when that transit planet retrogrades, it's actually less bad, like less stressful for you because it's like your natal placement? Or do you not find that to be true?
Some modern astrologers do say that. I don't know
Mm,
if
okay.
I particularly agree with it. I I think for me, for that Mars retrograde particularly, I mean, I have a day chart and Mars is my difficult planet. And so Mars is just always going to be bad. And like the Hellenistic perspective is just, it's very black and white. Like bad planets, bad. Good planets, good. And
Hmm.
and you do often find like, if you have a retrograde Mercury, I think that can be more the case. Like
I was
retrograde
gonna
can
say, I
actually
guess I've heard it
feel,
specifically about, yeah.
yeah, I do find that to be the case with Mercury people, but I also don't have a big Mercury influence. I have no Gemini or
Mm,
Virgo placements, and my Mercury is just combust. Like I don't, Mercury is not a
right.
permanent planet for me.
Yeah, I'm trying to see. I think my natal, I've got Saturn, Uranus, Neptune are all natal retrograde, and Vesta for me. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Saturn retrograde can definitely feel like something, but I don't know. I don't consider retrogrades too much unless they are like Mercury through Mars, really.
Hmm.
Because like Jupiter and Saturn and then the outer planets are retrograde for six
Right, for so
years.
long. It's like, yeah. I mean, any
They're
of their
like always
movements,
retrograde.
right, like any of their movements just start to, we've talked about that, like with the outer planets too being like generational, right? It's not that it's not important, it's just like so many people have
Right.
that placement. It's more like a categorization of like a tribe, almost like a mini tribe, right? Like, yeah, like 89ers this year, right? Having the transit recurrence type of thing.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Um, so May 18th is when Mars
Mm,
moves into Taurus, and then June 28th it moves into Gemini. So it's moving pretty quickly right now. Like Mars,
yeah, that's around the corner. I mean, yeah, it's already, I can't believe it's already almost, yeah, two-thirds of the way through April. We're
God,
chugging here.
it feels that way. It has felt,
Yeah.
everything feels so fast right now.
Yeah. Well, and spring is that, I mean, that time of like the quickening of the earth, right? Like everything does kind of wake up explosively. And even biologically, right, there's this need to open up, to bud, to leaf, to put roots out as fast as possible
Yeah.
because real estate is limited and you got to grab those resources and you got to grab the sunshine and, blah 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 blah. So, yeah, I
Yeah.
think there's always a little bit of that energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot to be said about that. Like, there's so much energy around, like, speed and wanting things to quicken. And I do think, like, now that Saturn and Mars are, like, starting to separate, that's
Hmm.
gonna start feeling better. I think Mars at the end of Aries is gonna feel better than Mars at the beginning of Aries. And we just had like earlier this week, we had the Mars, Saturn, Mercury conjunction all at 7 degrees of Aries. So it's just been like one crazy transit after another lately. And so it definitely feels like it's time for something new, something good.
Yeah. Well, we've touched on this on like every session, but right, like this year, definitely all of the prominent astrologers out there, including yourself, agreed, that this is a difficult, very packed year astrologically. It's like one thing after the other. So no surprises there, I guess, but it's always like this, it's not the intensity is not the surprise, but it is always interesting to see how these individual movements play out, like the nuance of it or the specifics of it, right? Yeah.
Correct.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's so much energy. It's just heightened energy all the time. It was funny, like I was listening to the astrology podcast when I was driving to my nail appointment, and he basically started the episode with like, I'm not trying to fearmonger, I'm not trying to scare you guys, I'm not saying this to be dramatic, but like this month is bad and it's just gonna
Yeah.
get worse from here. Like he was like, I'm
Yeah, and Shawnee had something similar too. I mean, I think, yeah, it's an interesting, I guess, moral quandary or pedagogical quandary, like when you are in a position of being like a professional astrologer who puts out content like horoscopes or like podcasts or whatever, where you're trying to guide people, right? And you're trying to help people. And you do genuinely see this period of time where it's like, there's no way around this. We can't sugarcoat this, but how do you present that information without fear mongering and without, just making people, it's the equivalent of like the fortune teller who tells you you're going to die. And it's like, don't do that, like,
right,
right. There's certain things, just don't phrase it like that. But at the same time, right, if you do see something really challenging, how do you give the client that information without just making them feel paranoid or helpless, I guess? Right? How
right.
can we always give people advice to make them feel empowered even in a time of challenge?
Yeah, because I honestly do feel like I mean, I've always been a person like I would rather just know.
Yeah,
Like if something,
tell it to me.
right, like just tell me the truth. Like if something crazy was coming or happening or whatever, like I've always been on the side of like just tell me the truth rather than like
Don't play games. Yeah,
yeah,
that
like
doesn't
sugarcoat
help
it for
anyone.
my feelings, right?
Right.
So like I like when Chris does stuff like that. And like,
Mhm.
you definitely see people on the internet being like, oh, you're fear mongering. But it's like, no, like some transits are bad. Like sometimes astrology is bad.
It's bad. Yeah. Well, so what was Chris's? Did you listen to the whole episode? Did he have anything useful that you took away from like how to deal with that other than just being like, guys, watch out?
Right. I mean, like, he didn't really get into how to deal with it. He kind of just was like, it's terrible again. Sorry. Just gonna get worse. But like,
When he's such a like, I don't know, his voice too. He is a bit of like an Eeyore. Like it's funny. I think
yeah,
it's cute, but he's so like
yeah,
serious all the time. Like, yeah.
he does energy. Um, but I think like for me, like I mean, I've had an influx of clients coming to me who are just like
Hmm.
deeply going through it and like asking a bunch of questions on like what do I do? How do I deal with this? What comes next? All these things. And I've just been like, you know what? Take a breath. Like and just because like things are crazy. I think the worst thing, like what Chris was saying, is like this chart is really bad for America's chart. Like the way
Mm,
it's lighting up America's chart is
yeah,
bad, but it's not lighting up everybody's individual chart
exactly.
terribly.
Yeah.
Like some of them, yes, but some of them, no. So it's like just because the astrology is bad for our society and other society, like just because it's happening there doesn't necessarily mean it's bad for the collective or
Yeah, or
everybody.
yeah, you personally, right? Yeah. No, that
Yeah.
is a good distinction to make. Yeah. And obviously we are seeing that in the, wider geopolitical arena of, political figure after or public figure just having some kind of crazy meltdown, foot in mouth, whatever, just all
Literally.
kinds of variations of craziness. But yeah, I mean, I've always thought that the system we're in, it does need to change, and it's like
Yeah.
the universe will kind of give you these nudges over and over again and be like, would you like to change? Are you interested in changing? And then the more
Right.
you refuse it, right, the more it's like, okay, well, we're going to come back and offer it again, but it's going to be a little less nice this time. It's going to be a little more intense. And by the time you get to where we are now, it's like, okay, there's not going to be much choice, and it's not going to be fun, and it's not going to be pretty.
Right. Right. And I think that's a huge distinction to make too, is just that, like, yeah, things are crazy right now and it's going to get crazier, but also that's okay. Like, I think as long as you figure out how to have the tools and resources to calm yourself or to like tap into what you need or who you need to become or whatever, like that's really like the key. right? Like it's just like as things are falling apart, it's like the Tower card in tarot, right? Sometimes you need a full like fire to burn
Yeah.
down everything so that something can rebuild better. And like without having those flames, without having that ability to knock things down, like nothing is going to rebuild. And so it's just like we're in that burning down period, which like unfortunately
Yeah.
lasts a while. Like
Yeah.
it's not it's been happening since 2020. Like it's
Yeah.
more than a year. It takes a while for things to like really get bad enough for change to actually come in and stick.
Yeah, and I think that's something we grapple with the older we get too, is the very real possibility that we may not see the change that we want to see embodied in our lifetime, right? And what do we do with that?
Yeah.
How do we work? How do we cope with that?
I
Um,
actually feel like we are going to see it in our lifetime.
mm, yeah, or at least the beginnings of it, maybe.
I mean, not even. I think by the time Pluto is getting ready to leave into Pisces,
When is that?
20 years from now,
Okay. But
I
like well within, yeah, well within our lifetimes. Yeah.
for sure. Like I think we will, we'll be in our 50s, 60s, but we'll be here.
I
Like we'll
mean,
be
we'll be
alive,
approaching our golden elderhood. I love it. I can't
right?
wait. Okay,
Yeah,
so
but
you're pretty optimistic then. I mean,
I'm
you
pretty
feel
optimistic about it. I think Pluto and Aquarius, I mean, when you look back on Pluto and Aquarius in history, it's often indicated revolution and
right.
change.
I mean, makes sense, right? Yeah.
Yeah, like I mean, Aquarius is the everyday people, and I've made a lot of videos talking about the Leo Aquarius axis a lot,
Mhm.
but like Leo is the king and Aquarius is the
Mm,
everyday people. And
mm.
the corrupt side of that coin is the king who is corrupt and takes things too far
A
and
tyrant.
yeah, a tyrant and ruins things, right? Like literally Trump, right?
Right, right.
The Leo rising with Mars on the ascendant. Like that is
Oh,
that's bad Leo energy, right? And
right.
the other side of that coin is quite literally the everyday people getting fed up and being like, I don't like your rules anymore. I'm going to fight you. I'm going to
Violent
fight
revolution, yeah.
the violent
Or
revolution.
potentially violent, yeah.
Yeah, I
Hmm.
mean, potentially, but also probably.
Yeah, well, it's like at some point, like a toxic Leo energy, at some point, by definition, it's not gonna just step down because you said so, right? Like it's almost like it needs to be removed by force.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
yeah, which is unfortunate, but yeah, I think we're seeing a little bit of that now. Okay, that makes sense though. Yeah. So
Yeah.
what do you think Pluto in Pisces feels like or is gonna feel like?
That I'm not sure. And I don't know. I haven't really done a lot of research on Pluto and Pisces in the past. I haven't really seen anybody else talking about it. It might just be like too far away from.
Yeah, I mean, obviously this is like far future talk. I was just wondering as a contrast, I'm always kind of interested
Yeah.
in thinking about like where did we come from, one behind us, and then where are we going, one ahead. Sometimes it can help too, I think, when things are very, very crazy in any given moment, very chaotic, and it's hard to get a clear read on what's going on in this moment. If you
Yeah.
extend your view and go, okay, what's the timeline, i.e., where did we come from and where is this going? You can almost like triangulate, right? Or plot the now given the coordinates of the the before and the after. So sometimes that's helpful because I think, yeah, there's so many things disintegrating. There's so much of that tower card energy right now. It can be like, where is this going? And obviously, everything in nature and in reality, I believe, happens cyclically. It's not like there's no such thing as matter or energy that just disappears or is destroyed permanently, right? It's always recycled. But right, it can be very confusing how and when and where that's going to be recycled. It can feel like just a black hole, like a destructive energy. Yeah, in the moment.
And I think the reason why this shift into Pluto and Aquarius has felt so big, because the outer planets, like as Hellenistic as I am, and I literally just made a video on this, so it's so funny it's coming up.
Hmm.
But somebody had commented a while ago and asked my take on the nodes, and so I posted that video this morning, and somebody commented, do you use the outers like
Mm.
as a Hellenistic astrologer?
Holistic, yeah.
Use the outers, and I made a video basically saying like yes and no. Like I use them, but I don't use them like modern people use them. I integrate them if you're going through a major transit. Like if I was looking
Hmm.
at my chart as a client right now, I'd be like, holy shit, Pluto's on your sun, Neptune's on your moon, let's talk about it. But
Sure.
if I was looking at like I don't know, somebody who didn't have those placements, I'd be like, oh, that is nothing, right? Like, I wouldn't consider really talking about it. But when you look at those outer planets on a global scale, they do represent societal change and they do represent things that happen in the collective
Mm.
slash in like in the larger like generational scale. And so what I think is really
That
interesting,
makes sense. Yeah.
yeah, like what I think is really interesting about them is this idea of like, yeah, what are they trying to say? What do they need? How can we like lean into their energies in a healthy way? And I think with Pluto moving into Aquarius, what felt crazy about that is within 6 months of that transition, we also had Neptune move into Aries, and then we also had Uranus move into Gemini. And then it was just 5 months of like pure chaos of all the outer planets being in masculine signs, and then Jupiter moved. Every single planet moved. Saturn moved too within 6 months. But then they all retrograded back. And so
Mhm.
then we had this like stop, go, stop, go, stop, go, stop, go. But now Uranus is the final one and it moved Saturday, but everything has moved back this early this year. And now we are seeing a shift in like this Aquarius energy, like Pluto and Aquarius can't really stabilize until the other outer planets have moved and also kind of stabilized. And that's
Mm.
like not really been the case yet.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think lack of stability, lack of grounding is something like this past, several months, we can all agree that's been, something we're
Right.
feeling. Yeah.
Well, and it's interesting because when Jupiter moves into Leo, it's going to be trining this area
Right.
stuff. And Uranus is going to be trining Pluto. And so we're going to have pockets of the next year where every single planet is in a masculine sign. Everything in the sky is going like literally even the outers, like that's crazy. Every single planet is going to be in air and fire at the same time. There's going to be moments and pockets, and obviously the moon moves really fast, so it's going to last a day or two at a time. But when all of the other planets are in masculine signs, like there's going to be moments during Gemini season where everything is masculine.
Yeah, and I think we touched on that in the last meetup as well, right? Like this idea
Right.
that all the signs have these different polarities, whether it's elements or that traditional yin yang kind of masculine feminine energy. And like, yeah,
Right.
obviously it's always in flux, but then by definition, you have these highs and these lows or these black and white moments when it's like, wow, it's very one way or the other at that time. Um, yeah, and those high points or those low points can be pretty challenging.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of reasons I've been like very trepidatious, very hesitant about this year. Just, I mean, partly the natal transit recurrence thing for my birth year, and then yeah, just like all of the Aries stuff, and then yeah, Jupiter and Leo. I mean, obviously Jupiter's benefic, but there was a there was a post I was reading. I mean, it might not be someone that you would enjoy. They might be a little bit more modern, but they were just talking about basically how they get a lot of people who were like really ambivalent about Jupiter energy, Jupiterian energy, and like really confused about it and like really even intimidated, because it's like, okay, it's a benefic, but it's like I think it's very easy to love Venus, right? Like it's kind of hard to be intimidated by Venus or like put off or confused. We all have different interpretations, or we all might have different specific affinities, right? But like
Yeah.
Venus is kind of like everyone loves Venus, right? But then I think Jupiter, I don't know, there was something to what this person was saying, I think, because I don't even remember exactly how she rationalized it, but she was basically just saying this was a phenomenon that she sees a lot because Jupiter is this like big and expansive energy, right? Like I feel like not that Venus is not expansive, but it's a little bit more like Jupiter doesn't stay in his lane is kind of the
Yes.
vibe that I get. And he
Right.
doesn't want to stay in his lane, right? He wants you to open another lane on the freeway and be like, let's add another lane. What, like we need more
Right.
traffic here, right? And that can be wonderful, but I think sometimes it can also be a little bit, yeah, intimidating or just like that there it's like almost like a relentlessness sometimes is what it
Yeah.
feels like.
Well,
Um
I think the difference is that Venus is relational and it's sweet
mm,
and it's softer. So when
hmm
Venus moves through your sign, there's not much to say. It's kind of just like, oh, that's sweet. That's cute. Like you might just have
it
like,
softens the
yeah,
edges of
it's
things,
like soft and sweet. But when Jupiter moves through, it expands anything that it touches, good or bad.
hmm
Like Jupiter
hmm
doesn't really care if it's good, it's going to expand it. So, like I've seen a lot of Cancer rising specifically, but like, with Jupiter being in Cancer, like everyone thought this was going to be such a sweet energy,
mm,
but it hasn't been. It's been expanding emotions. It's been
hmm
expanding all of these like really difficult things. And it's been emotional. It's been hard. It's been sad. Like I have cried so much since Jupiter's been in Cancer. Like
yeah,
a period where it was literally every day I was just sobbing and I didn't know why, had no reason for it. And I was just like, I guess I just have to do this now. Like, whatever, I'm dealing with
right,
my emotions. And like with Jupiter ruling my ninth house, there's been a lot of belief system work. And I also think like I've had a lot of other Cancer risings say that they've gained a lot of weight during this transit and that it
yeah,
expanded their body or their waistline. And I think for me, like Saturn's also on my moon, so I think Saturn has been giving me food
it's
aversions.
almost like the opposite
I've been having
problem
the
for you,
opposite,
yeah,
but I lost a lot of weight, which I should not have. So
right, that's
I
what I mean, like it's almost it's expanding a negative problem so it looks like shrinking, yeah,
correct, right. And
yeah,
like, yeah, yeah, exactly. Like it's
yeah,
that square with Saturn being on my moon, my chart ruler, and the moon being your nutrients. Like I like couldn't eat for a while. Like food was making me sick, or like the idea or thought of food was like making me not feel good. Um, so like I was losing a lot of weight because I didn't want to eat, but then I still had all that nervous energy, so I was still like moving a lot. And so I was just exercising constantly and then eating one meal a day. And the one meal a day I was making was pretty bland and simple because I couldn't eat. So I
right,
was just
right.
like making something that didn't really taste like anything so that I could force myself to eat. And that was just kind of resulting in like I was burning way too many calories and not taking enough in.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, I guess just circling back to Jupiter, like it kind of this is something and maybe this is just like my personal story with Juno, Hera energy and obviously her ambivalence and complicated partnership with Zeus Jupiter energy. But
Yeah,
I think it's like sometimes I feel like Jupiter when it's acting in that expansive way and it's touching something that we don't necessarily want expanded, it feels like, yeah, there's this relentless quality to it. And it feels like you can't argue with him, like
right,
it's like,
right.
I touch you, you expand, and it's like, it's just such an interesting planet. It's just such an interesting energy because I think it does circle back to some of these themes we've been talking about too, like with patriarchy and like rulership and like
Yeah,
Jupiter being like Zeus being the king of the gods and being omnipotent and like yes, he can confer these blessings, but what's really going on? Like what's driving that, insatiable energy of inflation, of growth and like is that always I mean, obviously, like it is a benefic planet, but like I feel like on an individual level, sometimes it's kind of like how, Saturn's a malefic, okay, but it can be such a blessing. It can deliver such blessings as well, right? And sometimes Saturn can even have a bit more of this like grounded, we've been talking about like motherly energy, right? Even though we think of it as more masculine, but we can think of it as that like stern mother as well. And it's almost like Jupiter's the inverse of that, where he's supposed to be like benevolent daddy, but then sometimes it's like, whoa, stop, stop, stop. And he's like, no, 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 I know better than you. Let me just
Yeah,
keep putting more on your plate. You want more of this, right? Like, it's like, no,
right,
no, I didn't ask for more of this. Like, please
right.
go away.
Yeah, and like, Jupiter is kind of like a belief system anyway, and so it has been really interesting to see like because it rules my ninth, but it also like rules religion and like
Right.
belief in general or like your education or philosophy or like what you want to learn about. And I've definitely noticed like a huge influx, especially because the beginning of this transit, Jupiter was my Time Lord. Um, so I did experience about 6 months of Jupiter being my Time Lord in its exaltation in Cancer. And I like, you know, I felt like it was a lot. Like it was hard.
Yeah.
It was something that I was so excited for, and I felt like I just spent the whole time having to unravel my entire life belief system. I've had to unravel like everything that I care about or believe in or think or any of it. Like it's just been constant.
Well, yeah, to kind of go back to this image of this patriarchal leader who thinks that they know better and who thinks that
Mhm.
just because they're bringing more, right? Just because they're bringing abundance, they are the best and they're, the king of the world and everyone should worship them. It's kind of like, I feel like Jupiter comes in and like opens all these doors and like expands everything, but doesn't like take the time to sit with you and go, okay, what's all the like minute work? What's all the healing? What's all the processing? What's all the digestion? What's all the understanding? What are all the conversations you need to have to make this expansion like meaningful, positive, to
Right.
make it stick, right? Because sometimes
Right.
things expand and then they can just deflate immediately afterwards if you
Right.
don't integrate them, if you don't
Right.
actually take some care to root it or transplant it properly into your life. It can actually just be kind of disruptive, like this door bangs open and you're like, oh my God, all this stuff. You're welcome. Take all
Right.
this stuff.
Right. Here it
Bye.
is. Right. Well, and it's
Um,
interesting having Jupiter like square all this Aries stuff for that reason, because it's like Aries
yeah,
wants it to come quick, and Jupiter's like, okay, fine, here's more of
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it's definitely an interesting combination. So anyway, all that to say, I've been, yeah, kind of thinking about Jupiter and Leo, like on the surface, I'm like, okay, great, yay. But part of me is like, stay away from my
it.
first house.
I mean, yeah, honestly, yes.
Like right now, I'm just like, hey, right now, I don't, if I could choose, I might not choose that, but
I know, and it's supposed to be such a good transit, and I have just been like, absolutely not. It has not been fun. But I do think
yeah.
it's like, I mean, Jupiter is exalted in Cancer. So I do think it'll be better when it's in Leo. Um, but I don't know. I'm excited for it to move into Leo, first of all. I want it off my
Yeah. No,
ascendant.
you want it out. Yeah, I get
I
that.
want it out. But you know what? If it wants to expand my second house, go for it. Bring
Yeah,
me
that's
some
fair. That's
money.
fair.
Go expand that. Like
Yeah, that's
I'm
totally
here
fair.
for that. I am not here for this. This is annoying.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's just an interesting one, and I think I will always come on here with the ambivalent thoughts or perspectives on Jupiter, Zeus, just because of
Yeah.
my personal history. But it is an interesting one just to think about, even mythologically. Like, I feel like of all the gods, right? If we just think about the Greek pantheon, we don't really. I feel like Zeus is such a he's almost like a mask, Jupiter, Zeus, like. so many of the other gods and goddesses, whether or not you like them or agree with the accuracy of the story, right? Sometimes it feels like a story was told for somebody, especially if they were a woman. But
Right.
even in those cases, you go, okay, I can sense that there's an emotional narrative here. I can sense that, let's just even say the storyteller cared one way or the other. But I feel like whenever Zeus does something, it's so like, I don't know, it's so performative, maybe. Like it's just, it feels flat. Like I never feel
Well,
him. I never connect to his
yeah.
energy really.
Yeah,
Just his
it's like
deeds, right?
right. It's just like he wants something, he goes after it, he takes it whether or
It
not
does it.
consent.
And like it's like also, but it's also like, and maybe this goes back to this relentless expansion. Like I wonder if, it's like the maybe the dark side of Jupiterian energy is like narcissistic hunger because it's never satisfied. And also, right, like to a narcissist, like one conquest ultimately is equal to any other. Nobody has any individual value or merits or distinctions. Nobody and nothing, right? Because
Right.
the narcissist has an empty ego. What's driving that overwhelming desire to consume everything and acquire everything is a lack of grounding and presence in the self, right? So it's like, is Zeus actually like the OG narcissist? Like he's just on a binge of like, taking everything. And it's like,
Right.
sometimes that's great because yes, he seeds things, right? Like he spreads his divinity and creates things, but I don't know, like in the
And it's
myth more so than the astrology, right? Like astrology
right.
is sort of separate, but like in the myths, it's not really like Zeus goes around blessing people. That's not like how I would describe him. You know what I mean? Like if anything, he goes around,
Ruining everyone's life.
assaulting people.
Right. Right.
Like literally, that's his number one activity is he goes around, and let's just be honest, he goes around assaulting women. Like
Right.
it's kind of his MO. So it's
Right.
just interesting that that's the planet astrologically, right? It's the great benefic. Like what the more I think about it, I'm like, there's something messed up there. Why is that our great benefic?
And like I was thinking about this the other day, like everybody I know, like I was thinking about like the things that people I know like struggle with or like things that are hard for them. And it's always Jupiter's house. Like, because I have like my fourth house can really be difficult sometimes, and that's where my Jupiter is. And like I was thinking
We're
about
just talking about like where Sagittarius is, like your Sagittarian house, or
no, 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 where Jupiter is.
oh, literally where Jupiter is in your. Okay, I got you. Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I mean, what do I usually complain about?
Mm-hmm.
Fourth house stuff, and
Hmm.
that's where Jupiter is for me. Or like my,
Interesting.
I was thinking about a particular friend who I won't say his name on here because we're recording this, but he had Jupiter in Pisces in his eighth house. He was a Leo rising too. And he will never struggle with money, but he dealt with like crazy situations from his family because of his inheritance. And he would like tell me these stories where his dad would like abuse him and then turn around and be like, here's $2,000, keep your mouth shut, or things like that. And so it's
Hmm.
yeah, you have all this money and even a dignified Jupiter in the eighth, which
Right.
is good, but it's like at what cost? It's like inherited through pain or like through
Hmm.
this like and he had like some other really beautiful aspects to that energy, to that eighth house. Like it should have been good, but like
Right.
but it wasn't. And like I have a couple people actually. I did a live yesterday, and everybody in that live had Jupiter in their ninth, and they were all complaining
Hmm.
that, like, about religion or belief systems being forced upon them as a kid, or like too much of those themes, or like even like John complains
Hmm.
about not knowing what to focus on. And I see that show up in his Jupiter in the ninth. And then, like, Yeah, like everything I feel like people complain about often are whatever Jupiter's doing in their chart. And so it's
Well, the lack of
interesting.
focus is interesting too, because it's this like relentless expansion, right? But I mean, again, if you look at Jupiter Zeus in the myths, he's not a focuser. Like, he doesn't sit down and work at his craft, or he doesn't like,
Right.
just like come back to this home base and like have like a godly Jupiterian practice. Like, no, he literally just fucking runs around,
It is.
assaults people randomly, and then like from one day to the next it's like on to the next adventure, right? And that is a very, there's something disorienting about him, I think, at least in the myth, which maybe there's a translation there, because I'm just thinking about, for me, right, conjunct my moon in my 11th Gemini house. Like, obviously Gemini already has that ADHD energy, so there's that as well, and Jupiter's not like super happy in Gemini. But like, yeah, it's like my networks, my friend groups, that's an area that I've always felt blessed in. But also, now that I'm thinking about it, this combination of like relentless expansion and like inability to focus, or like difficulty grounding in the expansion. Those are absolutely two characteristics that I would use to describe my social life, the way that my friendship networks, my communities have always been. Like, I've never had trouble anywhere I go. People always want to be my friends. People always want to bring me into their community, right? Like, doors open. Sometimes they slam open and people are like trying to bring me in. And if I enjoy somebody or a group or whatever, I can very quickly start to like, I always think of it like the mycelial network, right? I can start to immediately like spore relate and connect to all the points in the network. But it's like very quickly, without fail, my whole life, I've had this feeling of, okay, and now what? Right. And like when I was younger, I thought it was just because, like, I'm literally thinking through this right now. This feels like a breadcrumb, right? Like, when I was
Yeah.
younger, I always thought it was just because I hadn't seen enough. I hadn't done enough. I'm like, okay, I'm 15, I'm 20, I'm 25, I'm 30. I haven't been around enough. I haven't tried this hobby. I haven't met the community that I'm looking for. But it's like, at this age, I'm like, well, maybe it's not that. Maybe that's just the way, yeah, my 11th house energy is. And it's like,
Right.
also with my moon and Ceres in there, obviously, like, I do love my communities. I really need and I crave and I thrive off of that, like, interaction and friendships and networks. But like, it can feel, yeah, kind of ungrounded. And sometimes I have to like, there can feel like this extreme swing between this insatiable desire to continue connecting, right? Connect more, acquire more networks, right? And to just
Yeah.
like completely cut off from it and just
Right.
be like, whoa, I'm done with that. And
Yeah.
sometimes that's not great. Like, sometimes I have to, try and find that balance. But yeah, I don't know. Jupiter, interesting energy. It would be interesting to hear from other people if this like sparks anything, if they're looking at their chart. Like, I never
No.
really thought about, yeah, Jupiter placements in that light, but it's an interesting one.
Yeah, well, I mean it expands and builds off of anything it touches, good or bad. And so like I do think there's a lot to be said about like, yeah, your communities. It's like you're given opportunities to be around a lot of communities, but actually committing or sticking to one has always been hard, right?
Yeah.
And it's like,
And if there's bad actors in the community, I do feel like sometimes my presence brings them out. Like, it's
yes,
almost like I come in and then like everyone's
correct.
like, "Yay, Lilla's here, great." But then it's like some weird shit starts happening, and like that's been happening even like here in Michigan too. And we've been kind of like grappling with that. Like, obviously any community will have bad or troubled actors.
Yeah, of course.
But like, how do you deal with that when you're trying to create like a long-term base and stability and offer like, yeah, a community space and community support that isn't maniacally ADHD and, yeah, just kind of unsettling. It's not an energy that makes anyone feel comfortable. It's almost like a caffeination or something, right? Like this, like, yeah.
Yeah. Whereas, like, it's funny to hear you say this because, like, I have a Taurus 11th house. And so my groups and communities, I find one that I like, and then I end up leading it. And then I end up, like, staying in it.
Yeah.
Like, way too committed. Like I commit so deeply to my like community
Mm,
spaces and like to a point where like I end up being the highest, like most knowledgeable person and the person who runs the community because nobody else cares as much as I do. And that's that like
yeah.
fixed square to the Aquarius stuff.
Hmm,
That the community always gets like given to me, gifted to me in some way.
right.
Um,
Well, I
and
always
so,
thought that was cool about your life. I was saying to someone the other day, I was telling them about you, and I was like, yeah, like it's cool because I feel like the way that you live your life, like you continue to expand, right? And you're always like looking for new knowledge. And like, so many years ago, you picked up astrology, and then you picked up palm reading, and then you picked up this. And before that, there was acro, right? And then there was dance before that, and Zumba.
yeah,
And like, but it feels like I was saying to this person, I was like, I don't know how Lori does it because it feels like she just keeps acquiring like skills and communities, right? And you do both at a high level. Like these aren't, most of them are not what I would call hobbies. They're like you're really learning how to do this skill well, and then you are, becoming promoted to some form of like leadership, and you're, also having a friend network. But it's like you're keeping them all, like you're still doing them all. And I'm like, how does she do that? Like that is,
makes
but that makes a lot of sense. Like just even just looking at our 11th houses, like I hadn't thought about that before. Because I think I
well,
have the same like I keep going, right? And I acquire a lot and I learn a lot and I make a lot of friends. And I've also had leadership positions, but for me, it's like rapid turnover.
turnover. Yeah. Well, and I think for me too, because I do think about this a lot, the ruler of my 11th house is my exalted Venus, and
Hmm.
it's in the ninth. And so it's like I decide to learn something. I learn everything about it because I love it so much. And then it bleeds into that 11th house energy of like, okay, now I run the community. Like now, since the acro was gifted to me, now the shop was gifted to me. Like it's like people give me a space literally to host or to pull people in or to bring together. And it's been the case everywhere I've gone. But then I almost like commit too long. Like the thing
Hmm.
starts to die and I maybe should just like back off, but I don't. I never give up because I like care so, or it's like even with acro, I'm experiencing that now. It's like I never want to let it go. I never want to back off. I love it so much, but I'm also like a little bit over it and kind of don't want to run the community anymore. But
Hmm.
like I've been
But you're so solid, right? Taurus is
right,
like it is that solidity that everyone loves on the ground underneath our feet, right?
correct. Yeah.
So it's like it's hard to be like, "Hey guys, stop stepping on me. I want to move." And they're like,
Right.
"No, you're good. What do you do? You're fine down there. Like the
Right, like
ground doesn't
lifting
move."
us up, literally. Like, yeah. And it's like, oh, I guess I
Yeah.
have to like commit to this forever now. Oop. And then,
Hmm.
yeah, and I think there's definitely been lessons that I've had to learn with all of that. And like not bad ones. Like, if anything, I do kind of feel like that has been the easiest or most stable part of my life.
Hmm.
I mean, besides like I was thinking about this the other day too, because like 2018 is when Uranus moved into Taurus. And I've had that habit of like people coming into my life through these communities, and then I get really close to them and then they move away. I
Hmm.
don't move away, I stay here, but they move away
Hmm.
every single time. And I've always kind of wondered if like when Uranus moved into Gemini, if I would be the one that moved away.
Hmm. Well, and you've been, I mean,
And
that's
I've
been
been
on your
thinking about
list. I mean, that's a serious consideration, right? So that is
yeah.
interesting.
So that's been
Oh.
interesting to think about as well as like, will I leave with that transit? But it's also interesting, I've noticed. So in the past week, since, or like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, maybe, since like Uranus has been at 28 and 29 degrees, like the anaretic degrees, and leaving Taurus, it's like all of the communities or groups that I lead have been having big turnover.
Mm,
And that's been really interesting is like watching like Amy quit the asteroid research group. And I didn't
right.
like the way we were running it, but I also didn't want to like say anything about that. But now I'm running it with Alicia. And so I love the way that we're running it because it's great. And like I have like a friend that I'm running it with, and I was complaining about how much I missed basing. And so it's like the universe took Ian away, my base, and replaced it with Kelly, who I love. And like I've been becoming really close to her really quickly. And she also has a lot of Aquarius and Aries in her chart and is like very committed to whatever is going on or whatever. And so I do think it's really interesting to see that duality starting to play out because it does kind of feel like there's been this like changeover really quickly of like, all right, all the people that I'm running these communities with who like are no longer supposed to be in my life are like leaving.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, I think we all go through that to a certain extent. And it's sometimes it's hard, but sometimes it's also a relief sometimes, where you're just like, okay, like I'm glad I didn't have to kick this person out, or I'm glad that I didn't have to leave. I'm glad that this person just left of their own accord, essentially.
Yeah.
So yeah, sometimes that influx of new energy can be good. Yeah, so interesting. Well,
But the turnover is very interesting,
yeah. Oh,
especially
hmm.
with Uranus there. I'm very curious to see, especially now that Uranus is entering your 11th house because you're
I
one
know.
mind. I'm wondering if
Right.
that's gonna show up. And like I've been talking to some other friends about like how Uranus has this, with this transit ending, like a lot of people I know have been stepping up. Like John was saying like it's leaving his 10th house and he was saying that, like, he finally started asking for money for certain things he's been doing for free and like asking his worth. And then, like, he had a few Instagram videos blow up and now he has a bunch of followers on Instagram. And like all these things have been happening very, like, in the past few weeks that have been changing over his 10th house. And it is really cool to watch how like people have been experiencing this change in like different areas of their lives and
Yeah, and I think Uranus is a lot about just going in without expectations, right? Because yes, it is like change and like shaking stuff up, and it is the kind of first, you could think of it like like a seed that's getting the shell cracked so that it can start to sprout, right? And Uranus is that force that like cracks the seed or cracks the egg. And by definition, it's kind of jarring, right? I imagine if you're in the
yeah.
seed, or if you're the little chick inside the egg, that moment of the shell cracking is kind of, it's a point of no return, right?
Hmm.
Because once, I mean, to continue that biological metaphor, once the seed is cracked, once the egg is cracked, that capsule, that item is now, it has a shelf life, right? It's going to rot or perish if it does not successfully germinate or hatch. Whether it's like a seed or an egg that is unbroken, especially seeds, right? They can last for like hundreds of years, and be just fine. So there's something very vulnerable, I think, about that Uranus moment. I think it's in Demetra's Dark Goddess book. She had this whole, because she's talking about dark moon phases, right? Or like just phases of dark, quote, and light energy, goddess energy. And she talks about the outer planets, like Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, as a progression that basically represent, internal transformation. And Uranus is the force that cracks open the seed. Neptune is kind of what germinates it and allows it to like grow. And then Pluto kind of like wraps it up and sends it into that next phase, whatever that looks like. And I think of those phases of transformation, like Uranus is, yeah, definitely, at least for me, it's kind of the scary one, or, the one where you're like, oh boy, here it comes. But it's a
Um,
good reminder that it shakes things up. And as long as you're not going in there with demands, right?
yeah,
It's usually going to be okay.
right. And like Uranus in Taurus to me feels like earthquake. Like it
Mm,
feels like that doesn't feel good. But like Uranus in Gemini, like other than the fact that America's Uranus is in Gemini and there's always a war during Uranus and Gemini, when you look at it objectively into your own chart, that could just be a lot of ideas. Like
right.
new ideas, new fun things. Like let's mix things up. Like that sounds fun.
Yeah, I wonder because I always love when you come up with like a really good visual, kind of theatrical metaphor to describe a planet in a position, because I think that really does help to kind of visualize what that energy is, right? So like if
Yeah.
Uranus in Taurus is an earthquake, yeah, Uranus in Gemini, what would it be? It's almost like the image I get is like a coin flipping, right? And you're like, is it this, is it this, is it this? But it's almost like spinning out or doing something really strange, right? It's not behaving the way that you would expect. But there's some kind of like, yeah, what's the other side? What's this? Oh, what's that? Oh, there's this too. Oh, I didn't know this had another side. Oh, this coin just keeps flipping, you know?
Yeah.
Um, but I wonder if there's a natural, because it's not quite a whirlwind. Because Uranus is like, yeah, it's like
I
shift, it's like disruption. It's like what? I wonder.
Do you know that game? Okay, wait. I have the image.
Okay, okay.
So I used to teach preschool, right? And we used to have this like little game where we would have this stuffed animal and you could throw the stuffed animal to anybody and they could like answer the question, or
Mm,
like sometimes we would use it as like when I was going into schools and teaching like movement practices, we would sometimes use this game to share our names or like
mm,
share like a fun fact about yourself. So how we would do it is like everyone would sit around and like throw the ball to somebody, and then they would whoever was holding the ball got their turn to talk. So they would answer the question, whatever the question was, and then whoever wanted to go next would raise their hand, and then that kid would throw the ball across the circle to the kid who wanted to share next. And
mm.
but
Like
sometimes
popcorn almost.
yeah, like a popcorn game. I think that we even called it that at one point. But I'm getting a vision of like of that right now. Like of a
Mm,
bunch of preschoolers sitting around and like not fully understanding the game and talking over each
mm,
other. And then somebody having to be like, hey, only speak if you have the ball. Like it's like that energy. But then that
mm,
ping-ponging of the ball, like moving around the circle and everybody getting an opportunity to speak or to share or to give their experience on like whatever's been going on. And I'm like picturing that, but like with ideas. And then it's almost like
mm.
you are the ball, just being like, wait, who do I
Yeah.
like which idea is going to be the best one for me to get me the farthest or whatever. Like that's kind of the image now
Oh.
I'm getting for this. Like it's like a bunch of like young kids just like ah.
Yeah, well, I mean, Gemini does have that youthful quality to it. That's interesting, doubly interesting, I think, for me, just because of Gemini being my 11th house. So, like, th that sense of community, right? Like a circle ship. And then, like, that popcorning idea or whatever, kind of being this Uranian element of surprise. Like, that's interesting. Yeah, I'll have to
Yeah.
keep an eye on that, like, in my own life and see if that pans out in that sense, because that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. But again, with Uranus, you never know. So
Right.
by definition, we have to just, go in there with our hands up, essentially. Yeah.
Yeah. Just have to let it be what it's gonna be.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so chaotic. And I mean it's my 12th house.
Ooh.
So baby, gotta
Just
let
as
it
you said, it's so chaotic. Like Lily just like went straight up in the camera. Are you okay, Springer? Are you
die.
okay with that? Yeah, well, I wonder, is there anything looking forward roughly in the next 2 weeks since we're doing this kind of like twice a month-ish? Is there anything you would say to look out for other than what we talked about, for anyone listening astrologically? Is there anything in the next couple weeks that, we should be mindful of?
Hmm.
Anything else?
I mean, definitely this Uranus ingress
It's
to Gemini.
probably the main
Yeah, I mean that is
like highlight.
fine. Um, yeah, and I would really like encourage everybody to listen to yourself first of all, but like really like look back on what were you going through in 2018 when it moved?
Mm,
Um, because I was thinking about this too. Like 2018 is when I went through a bad breakup at the very beginning.
right.
And then right
What part of
after
the year was it moving in?
I would have to look. I actually am not totally sure. I'll look up the day when I get a minute, but um
But I think it was in like more like the second. I feel like it wasn't
I
the
think it
first
was
half of
in
the
the
year. It was
second
like the
half.
second half. Yeah.
But yeah, it was like I went through a bad breakup. I started questioning everything. I was starting to feel like I didn't want to do what I was doing anymore. I did get a full-time job around then. I was like changing careers every 5 minutes. I was like teaching a lot of like acrobatics and stuff at the time. And I was like trying to shift over and figure out like what I wanted my career to look like next. And I had started teaching circus towards the end of the
Mm,
Aries, um, like when it was in Aries, so that's funny. And that's my
hmm,
10th house too. And 2018 is also when I moved into my first apartment by myself, like
hmm,
early 2018. Because I've been here for 8 years now.
hmm,
And I was thinking about that. I've lived alone for that entire transit with like
mm,
Uranus in my 11th house, like that's
mm,
kind of interesting, like not having community at home or like living alone. And I've been wondering if that like if I end up moving in with somebody early into the Uranus and Gemini transit because it's my 12th house and that
mm,
disrupts my solitude. Like never living
mm,
alone again kind of thing feels very Uranus in the 12th coming in after being
mm.
alone for so long. And I've just been thinking about that a lot. Like I wonder if there is going to be some like really big shift with that.
Yeah, that makes sense. And just as an entertaining side note, literally everything you said on your list of what happened to you in 2018, exact same thing happened to me. Like literally exact same checklist. So that's very, very funny. Yeah, yeah, no, I resonate with all that. So yeah, well, I guess we can
Well,
definitely
that makes a lot of sense for you too, though, because Aries leaving your ninth, like, or your
right, right.
Gemini
Uranus, yeah.
your ninth,
Yeah.
moving into your 10th, like, yeah, that tracks to me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's wild. And that was, I mean, 2018 was definitely like pre-astrology for me. Like I did not really have any astrology knowledge whatsoever. So I wasn't really, tracking any of this or,
Right.
acting mindfully in any way about these things. So yeah, yeah, that's always one of the weirdest things is look not weird, but cool to look back on events and go, oh, that was going on. Okay, that makes sense. It's not
Yeah,
random.
so
Yeah,
right.
well, we can definitely in the next meetup we can check in about
Yeah.
how this Uranus and Gemini thing went for everyone, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's also interesting. I've been thinking about this a lot too. It's like Uranus, its final meetup with another planet is Venus, which is at home in
Mm,
Taurus. So there's that like
mhm.
Uranus Venus conjunction that's happening today. And then
Yeah.
Uranus moves into Gemini and then quickly is conjunct um, Mercury. So
Mhm.
its first meetup with another planet is also in domicile.
Hmm. Yeah, it's kind of like partner hopping a little bit in that sense.
Yeah, weird, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, we should put that on the list too, the Venus Uranus conjunction if anyone has any stories about that for next time. Yeah.
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 Yeah, May 17th is when Mercury moves.
Yeah, well, as usual, if anyone has any anecdotes from the previous couple weeks when we do these things, we love to hear how things have been playing out in everyone's lives on the planetary stage. Yeah, even with just the two of us as examples, it's always interesting to see parallels and also how things can play out so differently. But we love hearing everyone's stories, so definitely bring them with you. And
Yeah.
yeah, we'll just post the next date when we have it, but we're roughly doing two a month, so
Hmm.
should be, yeah, what'll that be? Like, well, it'll be before that transit, but it'll be beginning of May, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cool. I don't think there's anyone in here, so.
Okay, well, we will, as usual, we'll post all of this. I'll have the Zoom recording. And do you save the TikTok recordings, or how does that work with them? Are they just
And
okay?
I don't always.
Yeah, that's totally fair. Yeah, well, we will always have the Zooms. Those are easy to save. So if anyone
And
wants
those
to
are
catch up
better
on these,
quality. This isn't the best sound setup.
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, so we'll have all this for anyone who wants to catch up on us later, and we will see you in a couple weeks.
Awesome.
Okay. All right, well, everyone enjoy the conjunction tonight and stay cool. It is getting warm here. It's
Yeah,
close to 80.
very warm here too.
Yeah, I'm like about to get out in the garden, so I'm like, ah. I mean, it's a nice day. I'm not complaining. I'm not trying to go back to winter, but also it's like there's no spring. We go straight from winter, like snow, into just boiling heat, and I'm like, ah.
I know it has felt like that. I was like really enjoying laying on my patio and now it's like so hot. And I'm like, why
Yeah.
didn't I request like I purposefully have requested a patio that gets a lot of sunlight for my
Mm.
plants, but now I'm not really like as much planting and I'm sitting out there a lot and it's just direct heat all the time. And I'm like, why did I ever
Yeah.
have fun
You
with
need like a one of
patio?
those like screen things or umbrellas, like
So
for a chair.
yeah,
You could
I
just like
desperately
angle it.
do need that. Well, awesome. This was
Okay.
fun.
Yeah. Well, we'll see you all in a couple weeks. And yeah, enjoy the weather in the meantime. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.